social media. We're putting Virginia first. For the last 23 years, Frank Beamer watched his Hokies battle in bowl games. Now, Justin Fuente takes his turn. It's his team, a tough team, looking for their 10th win of the season. Standing in their way, a bunch of Hogs from the South, a team from that conference that thinks they're better than everybody else. But not this time. It's time for another Hokie High. Razorback Nation, get ready for a beatdown. Bojangles presents Hokies and Hogs, Showdown in Charlotte.
A new coach, but the same result. Virginia Tech Hokies are playing in a bowl game. This year, it's the Belk Bowl in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this sports special, Hokies and Hogs, Showdown in Charlotte. I'm your host, Jermaine Ferrell. Tonight, we will have insight into the big game and an exclusive sit-down with the former Hokies head football coach and Frank Beamer, but as he watches his bowl game for the first time in 30 years. But we want to start with our very own Kevaney Martin down in Charlotte. And Kevaney, what's the atmosphere been like down there so far?
Well, Jermaine, with Blacksburg and Charlotte just roughly 174 miles apart, this is essentially going to be a home game for the Hokies. We all know Hokie Nation travels well, and since I've been in the city, I have seen some Hokie fans popping up here and there, but I have no doubt come game day that Bank of America Stadium will be a sea of maroon and orange.
Well, Kevaney, that's exactly what we want to see that, and it's going to be fun times down there, and you'll have more with us later in the special. Now, it's been a good year for the Hokies, and anytime a new coach comes in, there's some nerves for the fans. But will he be able to keep us on top? Those nerves were rattled even more with the world's biggest football game in week 2 of the season. After opening up the season with a win over in-state competitor Liberty, more than 156,000 fans came to the Bristol Motor Speedway for Virginia Tech and Tennessee in the Battle of Bristol. Things looked great for Tech early as the Hokies jumped out to a 14-0 lead. But 5 Hokie turnovers led to the Volunteers outscoring Tech 45-10 to get the 45-24 win. Tech dropped to 1-1 on the season. For the next 3 games, all wins, Virginia Tech outscored their opponents 137-20 to improve to 4-1 on the season. Virginia Tech's trip to Syracuse, a place where they have only won twice, wasn't pretty as the Hokies dropped to 4-2 with a 31-17 loss to the Orange. The Hokies strung together another 3-game winning streak, including a pair of Thursday night wins at home to Miami and winning at Heinz Field for the first time against Pitt to raise their record to 7-2 overall and 5-1 in the ACC. In a battle of Techs, it was Georgia Tech and their strong running game preventing Virginia Tech from clinching a spot in the ACC title game as Georgia Tech defeated Virginia Tech 30-20 to fall to 7-3 overall and 5-2 in the conference. Tech made an out-of-conference visit to South Bend, Indiana for the first time, and boy was it memorable. Down 17-0, Virginia Tech came back to beat the Notre Dame Fighting Irish 34-31. In Tech's regular season finale, with a spot already locked up in the ACC title game, the Hokies beat Virginia 52-10 to win the Commonwealth Cup for the 13th straight time and to improve to 9-3 on the season. The Hokies then advanced to their 6th ACC title game to play Clemson. The Hokies made a game of it, but came up a little short to the Tigers, 42-35. Tech qualified for their 24th straight bowl game to play Arkansas in the Belk Bowl. So after a season of big wins and close losses, the Hokies can cap it off with a big victory on Thursday against the Arkansas Razorbacks in the Belk Bowl. And Arkansas plays in the toughest division in all of football, the SEC West. But what kind of team are they? Kevaney Martin has been looking into the Hogs. And Kevaney, what can we expect to see from Arkansas on Thursday?
Well, standing at 7-5 overall and 3-5 in the SEC, the Razorbacks don't exactly jump off the page, but don't let their record fool you. The Hokies' trademark defense will have their hands full come Thursday on game day, as their Razorback offense has been productive both on the ground and in the air.
No, I always say we're not very sexy, but I'm probably wrong. I think we're getting sexier by the day.
At first glance, Arkansas may not be the flashiest team. finishing the season 7-5 after dropping their season finale to a Missouri team that wrapped up their season registering just 4 wins and 2 SEC wins. But that doesn't mean the Razorbacks lack star power. Junior quarterback Austin Allen finished the season with 3,152 passing yards and 23 touchdowns, while running back Raleigh Williams III scored 12 touchdowns and averaged 110 yards per game.
You know, for our style of play offensively, we do play a pro-style offense. We huddle up. We take our time getting things done. We try to execute very, very clean.
On the defensive side of the ball, the Razorbacks have had their share of struggles, giving up 42 points a game in SEC play.
Defensively this year, we've had our struggles at times, but when we played well, it's because we've played sound, we've played physical, we've tackled well in space.
On Thursday, the Hokies and Razorbacks will meet for the first time ever on the gridiron, and Arkansas is looking forward to the challenge.
I think to play an ACC opponent that played in a championship game, to see one of that caliber, obviously a quarterback that's very gifted, a very gifted thrower, good runner, got a great tight end. So we've got a really great opponent to prepare for and get an opportunity to play against.
And Jermaine, something else to keep an eye on, a big reason for the production offensively for Arkansas this year is their very talented offensive line. Across the board, they average 330 pounds and are 6'5". They are huge, they're tough, and this might be problematic, especially with the Hokies starting defensive end Vinny Maihota out for the game. Jermaine?
And Kevaney, has a lot of beef on that offensive line. I guess that's why you have to call the Hogs there. Now, let's take a look at Virginia Tech's bowl history. The Hokies are playing in their 24th straight bowl game and 30th overall. Tech, they are 12-17 in bowl games. Virginia Tech has won their last 2 bowl games and 3 of 4. The Hokies are 2-4 in bowl games against SEC schools, and this is Virginia Tech's first Belk Bowl appearance and their first ever meeting against Arkansas. And join me right now to talk about the Belk Bowl between Virginia Tech and Arkansas. It's the beat writer for Virginia Tech Sports and everything else with Virginia Tech is Mike Barber with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. And Mike, the game is just right around the corner. Fun times. First of all, Virginia Tech's playing an SEC school, second time this year, playing Tennessee. How do you feel they match up with Arkansas?
You know, it's interesting. Anytime you face a team out of the SEC, they're going to have a lot of talent, and they're going to have a lot of depth of talent. That's what the SEC has that maybe other conferences are lacking is 1, 2, 3 deep with some really strong recruits. You mentioned they've already played Tennessee. They've seen the caliber of athlete. And honestly, Clemson is a program that has probably the same level of talent. This Arkansas team is just built a little bit differently, though. It's more like Pittsburgh. It's a big physical team, a massive offensive line, well over 300 pounds across the front. They like to run the ball, 2 really talented tailbacks. So while I think this is a very talented Arkansas team, it's very different than the Tennessee or even a Clemson because of the style of play. They want to grind you into the ground, really.
And obviously with Brett Bielema, he coached at Wisconsin, so he's brought some of that ground and pound of the Big Ten down to Arkansas.
No doubt. I mean, that is the MO, the style they want to play. They want to be physical and control both lines of scrimmage. You know, Virginia Tech is an interesting case because their offensive line's been here and there a little bit this year. Defensively, they're a little bit smaller, quicker. How does that match up against a team? You think about how similar they are to Pittsburgh when you talk about Arkansas. And Pittsburgh's a team that's given Virginia Tech fits over the last few years. So it's an interesting matchup, especially along the trenches.
How big is it for Virginia Tech to beat an SEC school like an Arkansas? I mean, it didn't really matter which SEC school. How big you feel would it be to beat an Arkansas?
Yeah, I think one of the debates that lingers is I think everyone understands that the top of the ACC, when you're talking about Clemson or Florida State, those are great teams. Florida State won the national title. Clemson played for one. The question is, when you get down in the ACC, is the middle of the pack in the ACC as good as the middle of the pack in the SEC? So every one of these bowl games that a lot of people will say don't matter, where they matter is in some conference pride, and can the team that won the Coastal beat a team that only went 7-5 this year as an SEC team? It's an interesting measuring stick, I think.
Well, Mike, we're looking forward to the Belk Bowls coming up, so it's going to be a fun time. And Mike, I appreciate your time on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and the Belk Bowls coming right at you. Well, they call Charlotte the Queen City, and Tech fans look to turn Bank of America Stadium to Lane Stadium South. Coming up on the Hokies and Hogs Showdown in Charlotte.
Do I ever get tired of people wanting a picture or an autograph, whatever? And I said, nah, because I was around when no one wanted their picture with me or wanted my autograph. Granddaughters, right?
Kevaney Martin spent some time with the legendary former Hokie head football coach Frank Beamer. Hear about what he's doing 1 year after retiring from the program and his thoughts on the season next. Now, throughout the show, we want to put on your thinking caps for the trivia questions. The first one we have on the docket: which player owns the Virginia Tech bowl game rushing record? Is it A, J.C. Coleman, B, Lee Suggs, C, Darren Evans, or D, Kevin Jones? The answer coming up right after the break. But first, here are some Tech tales.
I think my finest memory was when Tech won and they beat Texas in the Sugar Bowl.
Wow.
That's it.
Just talk about the game.
Pardon?
Just talk about your thoughts on that game.
Oh, well, it's great, and we had not been in that position before where we won the big game, and that was the first really big game and put Tech on the national viewpoint.
Bojangles presents Hokies and Hogs Showdown in Charlotte, a WFXR News special.
Go Hokies!
Go! And welcome back to the show, everyone. Before the break, we asked you which player owns the Virginia Tech's bowl game rushing record. Is it J.C. Coleman, Lee Suggs, Darren Evans, or Kevin Jones? The answer is A, J.C. Coleman. Coleman rushed for 157 yards in a 33-17 win over Cincinnati in the 2014 Military Bowl. Well, for the first time in nearly 3 decades, this season, Frank Beamer wasn't patrolling the Virginia Tech sidelines as head coach. Coach Beamer left the program with a 23-game bowl streak. The streak was extended to 24 this season. Coach Beamer still kept his eye on the Hokie football program. Now, Kevaney rejoins us from Charlotte. And Kevaney, you recently spent some time with Coach Beamer. And Kevaney, it is always fun when you can spend time with Coach Beamer.
Exactly, Jermaine. The name Frank Beamer has been and always will be synonymous with Virginia Tech football. Lane Stadium is commonly referred to the house that Frank built. But after 29 years as the Hokies head man, he decided to step down and hand the keys over to Justin Fuente, and can't be happier with the results.
Let's talk about this season. What a year it's been for the Hokies. What's that like to know that it seems like the Hokies are in good hands?
Oh, great. I think Justin's done a wonderful job. And we had a good team coming back, and then Gerard Edwards, he's come in there and played tremendous for him. And I've always said that quarterback's got to be the guy, because if he's playing well, then you got a chance to be on a good football team. And I think he's played extremely well. I've always said, why not Virginia Tech, year in, year out, be the best in the country? And that's where, I think we're headed right now.
And you had the 23-year bowl streak, so 24 this year. They kept it alive. Did that make you smile at all? Was that important to you to make sure that bowl streak kept intact?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the consistency that we played with. We're in an up and down program. We're pretty steady, and I think the consistency that we won, and then the consistency of going to a bowl each of those years, year in, year out.
So out of the 23 bowls, the Belk Bowl was never one that you guys went to, and also this will be the first time that they're playing Arkansas.
There's going to be a lot of excitement, and playing a team that I think we probably match up very well with. So I think everything's in place to have a great bowl game and have a lot of Tech fans there and show their support.
And so going back to you, I remember last time we talked, it was right after your retirement, and we were talking about what your plans were for retirement. And as we said earlier, it seems like you're just as busy or more. You had your 5th grandchild. You're judging beauty shows or beauty pageants. So how has retirement been treating you, and what have you been up to?
I was just kind of showed up at the Miss Virginia pageant and did a couple things here and there. They wouldn't let me judge, so I've stayed busy and enjoy the grandkids and have a wonderful wife to travel with and so forth. So I think more in terms of not what I don't have now, but how fortunate I was to stay 29 years in a place that I cared so much about and meant so much to me and my family and so forth, my kids. So I realized how fortunate I was.
Coach Beamer will not be in attendance at the Belk Bowl, but for good reason. The legendary coach is being inducted into the Gator Bowl Hall of Fame this week, but he did say he will be watching from his hotel room in Florida. Jermaine?
Well, Kevaney, that's a great honor for Coach Beamer and great work on the story with Coach Beamer. Now, coming up, gang, guess what? We have more Hokies and Hogs Showdown in Charlotte coming up on the way. How much do you know about the Arkansas Razorbacks? We're putting your knowledge to the test. Coming up, we go to the University of Arkansas's campus to see how well the students there know their Arkansas trivia. It's time for another trivia question. Which Virginia Tech football player owns the record for the most receiving yards in a bowl game? Is it A, Bucky Hodges, B, Isaiah Ford, C, Ernest Wilford, or D, Antonio Freeman? The answer to this question is coming up on the other side.
Bojangles presents Hokies and Hogs Showdown in Charlotte, a WFXR News special.
Go Hokies! Let's go!
Hokies! Let's go!
Got this!
And welcome back, everyone. Before we went to break, we wanted to know which Hokie owns the school's bowl receiving yards record. Is it Bucky Hodges, Isaiah Ford, Ernest Wilford, or Antonio Freeman? The answer is B, Isaiah Ford. Ford had 227 yards in the Hokies' 55-52 win over Tulsa in last year's Independence Bowl. Ford also set the receptions record with 12 in last year's Independence Bowl. Well, the Virginia Tech Hokies and the Arkansas Razorbacks are making their first ever appearance in the Belk Bowl. It's also the first time they've ever met on the gridiron between these two teams. Now, this is Arkansas's third straight bowl appearance. Now, Thursday's game for the Arkansas Razorbacks, it is their first game against an ACC team since 1995 when they played North Carolina in the CarQuest Bowl. Now, we go back to Charlotte, where Kevaney has a special guest to give us some perspective on the Hokies' opponent. Kevaney.
Yeah, Jermaine, joining us now for more insight on the Razorbacks is Jean Dumont from our sister station in Fayetteville, Arkansas, KNWA. And Jean, it seems recently you put the Arkansas students to the test and quizzed them about Razorback Nation?
That's right. The University of Arkansas has a lot of proud traditions, so we took a trip over to campus and asked the students 4 simple questions. The results, we'll take a look.
Can you guys call the Hogs for me?
Hey, Suey, Razorbacks!
What is the Razorbacks mascot's name?
I really don't know. You terrible.
Haven't been here long enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just go with the Razorbacks.
Hey.
Tusk. Do I have to know the number?
Oh, Tusk, right?
Tusk the 4th.
Oh, my bad.
Who is the Razorback head football coach?
Brett Bielema.
I heard this in class. I can't remember it. I can see his face.
I can't do it. Crap.
Dang it.
Starts with a B. What is the Razorback fight song?
Hit that line to the finish.
No.
Carry on with all your might. For it's A-R-K and SAS for Arkansas. Fight, fight, fight.
Okay, so earlier you and I spoke, and I think it's only fair that since you've been covering the Razorbacks all season, and I've been doing the same for the Hokies, that we make a bet on the game, a friendly bet.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
But since we were just talking about traditions, I think the bet's got to be tradition-based. So the University of Arkansas, like you saw, they do the hog call. So I think if Arkansas wins, I think we got to have you doing a hog call.
Okay, I'm not familiar with a hog call. Can you do one really quick? Because I'm not sure that everyone back in Blacksburg knows what a hog call is.
Absolutely. Woo! Pig, suey, do that 3 times, and then on the 3rd one, you end with Razorbacks.
Okay, mine might be a little bit easier, but sticking with the tradition theme. So we're known for the Enter Sandman, and the entire stadium gets up and jumps. So I want video evidence of you jumping up and down to Enter Sandman. Does that sound good?
I think we can do that. We got to shake on this.
All right,
Make
we got it.
official.
Sounds good, Gene. Well, I hope for all the viewers' sake that actually the Hokies win, because I don't think anyone wants to see me doing the pig call. Jermaine?
Thank you so much, Gene and Kevaney. And we have more Hokies and Hogs Showdown in Charlotte.
What's going to happen is that we're going to win, and what's key is that our team has been improving over the year, and so we're ready to come out here and go home with a victory.
Coming up, we wrap up Hokies and Hogs Showdown in Charlotte. But first, here's our final trivia question. Which Hokie threw the school's first TD pass in a bowl game? Is it A, Todd Greenwood, B, Jim Druckenmiller, C, Eric Chapman, or D, Maurice DeShazo? The answer is coming up in a few minutes.
Bojangles presents Hokies and Hogs Showdown in Charlotte, a WFXR News special.
And we're back with our final trivia question answer, and it's Eric Chapman. Chapman threw a 6-yard TD pass to Steve Johnson in the 1986 Peach Bowl, Virginia Tech's first ever Peach Bowl win. Well, guess what, gang? We have more of action from Charlotte and Kevaney. Really give us some final thoughts and keys to the game.
Jermaine, I think it comes down to the quarterback play and which guy will have a more complete game. Whether it's Tech's Gerard Evans or Arkansas's Austin Allen, if you look at their stats, they both produce the same stats across the board for the entire season. So I think the guy that can make the fewest mistakes for their team, they will walk away the Belk Bowl winners.
Thank you so much, Kevaney, and we appreciate your work down there. Good night and enjoy the Belk Bowl.